Earlier this morning, we went through the latest in the litigation against Illinois' gun and magazine ban, and the Thursday hearing from the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals will be live streamed. And if you follow me on Twitter, I'll tweet out that live stream, but you can find it. Go to the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals website, click on oral arguments, and you'll see there oral argument videos. You click there, and then you find a YouTube link where it will be live Thursday morning. But we also went through some of the latest briefs, the final briefs that are being filed. And they come from Cook County, City of Chicago, the state of Illinois. About a week ago, you had the filings from the plaintiffs' groups that were responding to the initial government filings. What are the ultimate arguments here? Well, to delve into this a bit further, Maxon Shooter Supplies owner Dan Eldridge, he joins us to talk about that and more, including a fundraiser event that's coming up later this week. Dan, thanks for taking time with us this morning, and let's get to the latest here. What's in your understanding the kind of distilled arguments that are going to be heard Thursday in the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals?
Hi, Greg. Good morning. So on Thursday morning, we are, I believe, the only case being heard at 9:30. Each side is getting 45 minutes. The last round of briefs from the defendants was nothing new on the one hand and somewhat bizarre on the other hand. But the arguments really are unchanged. We're entitled to injunctive relief here, and we were granted it in the Southern District, and we're seeking to have the stay issued by the appeals panel the motions panel. We're seeking to have that stay lifted.
So we've got, of course, the Southern District cases, which the federal firearms licensees of Illinois were consolidated with 3 other plaintiffs' groups in the Southern District. But you had that Northern District set of cases where they sided with the gun bans. How do you think that's going to play out here when it comes to a decision, and when do you think a decision will be made?
We'll know a lot more after the orals. Right now, we don't know who's on the appeals panel. And I think we'll get a pretty good flavor for how it's going to go during the orals. As you mentioned, we are hosting a fundraiser with Chuck Michelle and Todd Vandermeide, both at Maxon's and at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. For those of your listeners who don't know, Chuck is one of the most prominent Second Amendment lawyers out there, California Rifle Pistol Association, head of the Second Amendment Law Center. He's our lead attorney. And what we'll do is take 60 or 90 minutes and offer people a briefing on how the orals went, what the likely path forward is, and most importantly, what we expect the timing to be in terms of these getting any orders out of the 7th Circuit.
Talk about how absolutely instrumental getting injunctive relief is as a gun store owner, as somebody who sells firearms to law-abiding citizens. How important would that injunctive relief be whenever it's granted, if it's granted?
Well, it's the first step to getting back to business as usual, and typically injunctive relief is granted as a means to return to the status quo before litigation. Well, in this case, the status quo is that we could sell semi-automatic rifles, magazine-fed semi-automatic rifles and handguns that held more than 15-round magazines. So we truly are entitled to injunctive relief on that basis. We're entitled to it on a number of other bases, including that there's no legal there's no means within the legal system for us to recoup damages. The state has sovereign immunity, so it's not as though as gun shops we can sue the state and collect damages for lost business. And the denial of people's Second Amendment rights is itself an ongoing injury that needs to get stayed pending the outcome of this litigation. We're confident that Judge McGlynn got his decision correct, and we look forward to having this stay lifted and getting back to business as of January, as it was in January 9th.
We're talking with Dan Eldridge. He is the owner of Maxon Shooter Supplies in Des Plaines, and I just want to get your reaction to some of the arguments that the state, Cook, and City of Chicago are making, saying that I think they wrapped in the gunpowder regulations. They talk about these semi-automatic rifles are very lethal. The technology's advanced, and they're only used for criminal purposes, and also that that they're not within the scope of legal self-defense. So a lot on the table there. How do you guys respond to that stuff?
Well, there's a lot of nothing on the table because none of those arguments comport with Bruin or Heller. Bruin being simply a restatement of Heller for the most part. I haven't dug carefully through them. I do have a day job, so I can't read briefs that aren't going to improve my knowledge base much, but the snippets that I have seen are some of it is simply bizarre that a Browning automatic rifle that's shooting 30-06 is somehow less lethal than a semi-automatic centerfire rifle shooting a varmint load. It's just bizarre stuff, and none of it's new. And again, none of it is compliant with. None of it comports with Bruin or Heller.
Dan, you'd mentioned the fundraisers coming up, two separate ones for the same cause, one Thursday at Maxon in Des Plaines, and then Friday at 7 in Aurora at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Talk again about how people can get into those fundraisers.
Sure. So the organization that is sponsoring these fundraisers is SADC, the Second Amendment Defense and Education Council. This is a organization that was born out of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. It is intended to be a 501c3 advocacy group. They've applied for 501c3 status, and they expect to receive it. So on Thursday, we will be meeting at 7 o'clock at Maxon in Des Plaines. On Friday at 7 o'clock at the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman. Tickets are $100. That's a donation to help support this litigation. They're available at sadec.org, sadec.org. It's a really, really important thing to keep funding this litigation. It is breathtakingly expensive. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars so far, and we haven't even cleared the district court yet. We're arguing over injunctions and stays. Excuse me. And so we would really encourage people to come. I think it will be time well spent for everybody and a great opportunity to support an important Second Amendment cause.
Dan Eldridge, Maxon Shooter Supplies in Des Plaines. Greatly appreciate your time, and if you could just close out with how much this has impacted your business and your employees, and not just you, but gun stores and firearms stores all up and down the state.
It's not great among our membership at FFLIL. People are down 10 to 50 or more % in terms of business, and of course we're coming into what's typically the slow season. So, but more than that, we really are looking for a win. I don't want people to get demoralized. We have the law on our side, we have the facts on our side, and we are going to win this thing. It's just a process that we have to slog through.
Dan Eldridge, Maxon Shooter Supplies, greatly appreciate it, and we'll talk again in the very near future, all right?
Thanks, Rick. Always good to talk to you.
Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk, now at 7:50.